prayer. We'll pray, but then because of another engagement, I will stay in shortly because I have another community thing to attend to, but I will listen to the recordings. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, you are God, you are the creator of all things. The Bible reminds us, O King of Kings, that you created all things from nothing, oh God. You called things into existence, and therefore even the knowledge and the technology and everything that we use and we engage with are all created by you. I want to thank you, my Lord, for each and every person who is here, those who are in the forefront of the planning of this event. Dear Lord, those who are the end users of technology, my King, that Father, we shall use all our skills to advance your work and for the good service to the community. I praise you, Jehovah, for the leadership of this team. And Lord, the organizers, those who are going to share their skills. My Redeemer, those who are going to participate, answer questions, and discuss, oh my Father. Give us a unity of purpose, oh my Redeemer, that all we do would be for the glory and honor of your name. I thank you, Jehovah, for those who are in various stages and user levels of technology, our children, the upcoming generations, and even those who are in the process of developing all kinds of technological advancements. My Redeemer, give us the ability to integrate with one another, to learn, oh God, that we shall live a better life. We thank you right now as we begin this conference, oh my Father. Come and take over, send your Holy Spirit, oh God. Give us a unity of purpose, even for the glory and honor of your name. We thank you and we bless you, for we pray in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Amen. That's a powerful one. That went to God's ears right from where we are. And so I want to give guidelines on how we are going to have this meeting. Please feel home, feel welcome, feel appreciated, even if your name is not mentioned. But we try as much as possible to acknowledge everyone who is able to attend this meeting. So allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to give you the guideline. We expect that this meeting will take between 1 to 2 hours, depending on how we are going to, how the panelists are going to have points to explain. And so we are going to start the meeting immediately with the panel 1 coming in and panel 2 coming after that. In between, there will be questions or QA sessions. So we expect that each speaker will have at least 10 minutes to explain their point. After that, we are going to have a QA session led by Shiko, Dr. Shiko, and then we are going to have another QA session led by Denson. And so panel 1 will comprise of 4 people. That is Ben Roberts, Linda Bonyo, Robert Cheuri, and Nixon Opondo. The moderator for that meeting, for that session, or for that panel will be Dr. Jane Munga. The second panel will be led by Grace Kirongo as the moderator, and then it will comprise of Matt Magera, Ngugi Karega, Jean Lea, and James Reggae. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome Dr. Jane Munga to introduce the panel of discussion and possibly ask them, take them through the question. Jane, welcome.
Thank you so much, Mark, for that introduction. Mine is to take us through the next session. So I would want to call upon the 4 panelists, Ben Roberts, Linda Bonyo, Robert Cheuri, and Nixon Opondo, to give the opening remarks, introduce yourself. I can start with, if also when you're speaking, if we can just see you, if your network, if your connectivity is not okay, we can initially ask you just at least to turn on your video so we see you. Then maybe you can turn it off when you feel comfortable. But I would want to start in that order. Ben Roberts, if you could introduce yourself and introductory remarks, if you can tell us a little about the work that you do. We are talking about unlocking opportunities for tech startups and innovators. So how you're involved in this space, and just a few words, then we'll come more to the directed questions. Go ahead, Ben.
Thank you, Jane, and good to see you. Yes, so my name is Ben Roberts, and I live in Nairobi, and I've been here 11 years actually. But I work for Liquid Intelligent Technologies, which is my job. I'm head of technology and innovation for our group across Africa. A bit about what we do. We really have some of the largest infrastructure that's cross-connecting multiple countries in Africa. In Kenya, that means we have the largest data center in Kenya. We have one of the largest fiber networks in Kenya, which is connecting about 46 or 47 counties, and also connecting Kenya to all the neighbors and to the subsea cables and doing other things. There's some background noise. If people mute, I hear a lot of noises coming from someone. But anyway, so you know, my job has been for the last 20 or so years has been building out and rolling out this infrastructure for our group of companies. But what I've really turned to look at in the last few years is really pushing the question of the uptake of this fiber network. We've built all this infrastructure, and what we're seeing is now, you know, having Kenya being ahead of the rest of Africa and ahead of most of the countries in the region. We're seeing very large investments coming into Kenya around cloud infrastructure. We're seeing offices of multinationals, Microsoft and Google and others, you know, big global tech companies setting up in Kenya. And we're seeing obviously a huge groundswell of local tech-led innovation entrepreneurship, which is driven by you know, the fact that infrastructure is in place, the platform is in place, from the fiber connectivity, the mobile connectivity, and most importantly, the mobile money. And so I've been working on many areas of this, really seeing how we build tech ecosystems. I'm working with innovation hubs and tech hubs across Kenya and across Africa. We're looking at how to connect educational institutions, technology research to our networks, and how really to use the networks that we've built really to grow the digital economies of Africa. So I've been involved in some policy work in Kenya, notably chairing a working group of the Kenya ICT policy of 2019, and also the digital economy strategy, which is I was working with yourself, Jane, obviously, of course. But seeing how we can grow the ecosystem as a whole, really, you know, my day job is building infrastructure, but we're looking to see how we can make that infrastructure actually transform the economy of Kenya into a digital economy. So that would be my opening statement. Thanks very much for having me this evening. I'm looking forward to the discussions.
Thank you, Ben. It's always a pleasure to be interacting with you. We've been on this road for the digital economy for a while. So thank you for those opening introductions. I will also echo what you said. If you're not speaking, kindly mute yourself. I see some microphones that are live. Tinashe, I think you may not know, when you log in automatically, I think it puts your microphone on. So just double check that you've muted yourself. So my next speaker is Linda Bonyo. Linda, if you're with us, I don't see you. Is Linda with us? All right, I'll ask our convener, Mark, maybe to check on that and make sure she
she just sent me a message she's joining, so maybe you can skip and move to the next person.
Perfect, that's great. I can jump to Dr. Robert. Dr. Robert, you have the floor. Please introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself, and just tell us about how you're involved in the innovation and tech hub ecosystem.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Munga. My name is Robert Curie, and I wear several hats. One of it is I'm chair of Global Diaspora One Voice Consortium. This is an organization that even Dr. Mak'Ouma is part of. He's our co-chair of innovation and technology within One Voice Consortium. And this is a diaspora organization that is there to bring our people together in various sectors, including technology. And we cover a lot of issues in education, in finance, in trade, in governance, in agriculture and food security, and so forth within that organization. And the vision here is just to bring our people together in various sectors so that we can address cross-cutting issues and uplift the lifestyle of our people, so both here in the diaspora and back in the continent. I'm also joined here by several members of One Voice Consortium, our directors of operations, Dr. Okari, and also our members of our food security consortium who are here and listening, because as you all know, agriculture and food areas have a lot of interaction with technology today, and that's why we are here, so that we can be able to all work together and see how we can inform others, encourage others, share with others, and network with others, so that we can make a strong platform and facilitate technology through all the areas of spheres of life. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Robert. That's fascinating. I look forward to hearing more about One Voice. But before that, let's go to Dr. Nixon Opondo. Please introduce yourself. Tell us about how you're involved in the technology and startup sector. Now let's just hear a bit more about yourself also.
Hello.
And can I request, sorry, just to make sure we hear you, Boniface, or if our convener can mute Mr. Boniface. I don't know if he's aware that he's not muted. Go ahead, Nixon.
Sorry, Jen, just one moment. You are also the host. You can mute someone in case, yeah. Okay.
Thank you. I was not aware of that. Let's see. But thank you. Thank you. Go ahead, Boniface.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Can you hear me? All right, very good. Yeah. Dr. Nixon Opondo here. I'm in Seattle. My degrees and majors are in technology innovation leadership. So that's the connectivity that I have with this forum today. But I do work for the Boeing company in Seattle. I've been involved in innovation technology research and continue exploring on the trends of technology and trying to do road mapping, depending on what type of technology of interest you may be involved or engaged in. In this particular case, looking at the digital trend and the threats around it and what that means for us in the next 10, 20, or 20, 30 years. How can we contribute? How can we make it better? I also teach technology and innovation at the University of Central Missouri. So I'm here to add to the body of knowledge that's here. However, I traveled to Atlanta and my flight changed. So I would like to be here for the next 1 or 2 hours, but unfortunately, I'll just have to drop because Atlanta is, you know, from a technology standpoint and from a travel standpoint, it's the largest or the busiest airport in the world. And so technology is needed to improve how we travel, how we communicate, and how we plan for our flights as well. So I'll be leaving a little bit earlier, but thanks for the opportunity. I'll attend to 1 or 2 questions and then I'll drop. So back to you.
Thank you. And even thank you for joining us when you're on transit. We know these things happen, so we really appreciate that. And we'll be sure to engage you before you have to drop off. So I want now to turn to Linda. Linda Bonyo, I hope she's here.
Huh? No,
Linda, you have the floor. Is Linda speaking? If not, we can go directly to the Q&A now. I have a few questions for my panelists. Once Linda joins us, we'll be able to engage with her. So the first question is going to be in line with how you introduce yourself. And I want to hear more. Again, I'll start with you, Ben Roberts. You talked a lot about infrastructure. You're involved in ensuring that we have the basics. Innovation, tech startups definitely need innovation. And in Kenya, we've seen that the connectivity rate has really helped the growth of innovations and startups. So tell us what, in your view, is the opportunities that you see within this landscape, and if there are any challenges that you'd also want to highlight within this.
Hi, yeah. Can you see me now? Can you see me?
We
Okay?
can,
Can you hear me?
definitely hear you, but go ahead. We can hear you.
Yeah, let me see if you can. Is my camera working?
Yes, we can see you now. Yes, we can see you.
Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I mean, I have no connectivity challenges, but I do have a challenge with the camera. The selfie camera on my phone doesn't work, so I have to turn the phone around to use the back camera. But you know, really I think to this audience, right, which is this is a USA Kenya Tech Forum. I think that if for those of you who are living in the USA and you've been away a while, a lot has happened in Kenya over the last 15 to 20 years in terms of the technology, the technology infrastructure, the technology platforms that are here. And really now everybody has been doing their part in building the infrastructure and other things, soft infrastructure, hard infrastructure, capable, that's necessary to facilitate innovation. It sort of started out 15, 20 years ago, and I think everything started out at the same time. We had the emergence of innovation hubs, startup companies. We had then the basics of infrastructure being built. We had the first fiber optic cables coming to Kenya's shores. We had people building fiber optic networks into the country. We had people building mobile networks, building access networks, towers all over the country. And of course, as I mentioned, launching mobile money, which is a big important piece of all these important pieces of all of it. But not everything quite worked out. Right? We didn't have, although 20 years ago, there might have been a boom of what are now huge companies emerging in the US, starting up, and are now some of the biggest companies in the world. But those companies that started up 20 years ago in the Kenyan tech ecosystem have not become the biggest companies in Kenya, the biggest companies in the world, apart from Safaricom, which is one of the biggest company in Kenya. So, when people were making startups, it happened a bit too early, right? So the startup, the iHub and the innovation hubs that originated 15 to 20 years ago, the startups that were coming then, things were not quite ready. So when we talk of the digital economy, we talk of a number of things. We talk of this area of digital infrastructure. We talk of digital skills and values. We talk of digital government. We talk of digital business and digital entrepreneurship. And not everything was ready. And my area has been the infrastructure. But we've had progressive policy that's enabled people to try things with technology, to try new things. But companies that have tried things, they found that when they arrived and started to do what they did, not everything was quite ready. They were bringing business models that they may have tested in the US or in Europe. And those business models were based around some assumptions that certain things were working. One of the largest e-commerce companies, I spoke to recently, a founder of one of those that came to Kenya, and they said when they came to places like Kenya and Nigeria, they found that they were driving the car while fixing the road, whilst changing the tire, all at the same time, at speed. So they were having lots of things they had to do, and we've seen then the companies that came to do things in the digital space have now specialized and said, okay, we're going to focus on solving this problem of deliveries, these people solving these problems of payments, and other such things. So, but I mean, generally, really, my message is that most of the infrastructure areas of what we need to do to run a digital business have been solved. We have this very high penetration of smartphones. So if you're doing things, digital services based on connectivity or 4G, 5G connectivity, we have many people using that. We also have a very high base of people who have high-speed broadband to the home. Over 1 million homes have got high-speed broadband. It's way short of what we'd like to be, but we have very high uptake of high-end services, that require broadband, like Netflix and others. And most businesses, all businesses, are connected to high-speed internet, reliable fiber. Really, the space is here, and we have a willing and tech-savvy. We have a tech-savvy population. But most importantly, now what's changed in the last 2 years is we really have a government that's committed to digitization and technological advancement of Kenya. And the government are doing some few projects of themselves, but I think that that commitment from the president himself to digitize the nation, to push government services online. Whoever's talking, can you mute? But that commitment from the government and the president himself is very important to help us all drive together. And if you really want to, if you're based in the US and you're working in tech and you're thinking about coming home or investing, you don't have to come home, but you can also invest in technology. There is a lot going on. And I think actually this is a bigger opportunity. I know that I was there late last year in October when the president went on a tech mission to America to visit tech companies, big tech companies in San Francisco. Much as we do have and we do enjoy a lot of participation and investment coming from these large tech companies into Kenya. The bigger opportunity for me in terms of US-Kenya tech relations is probably really in this space of diaspora investments. I've personally employed many diaspora people who've come back and looking for jobs and found them having great technologies. Please mute whoever's muted. And having people that are in the diaspora who are wanting to come back and do things. I've employed many of them and found that they've got, obviously great exposure to technology from working abroad, but also able to apply that and practically apply that within Kenya. But I really think that from the entrepreneurship, please mute whoever's muted. So I really think that the space is available for people to come and invest, not just sending remittances back, but actually coming and investing in technology companies, or coming to start your own technology company. I think that would be my call to action for this audience. Just the message is we're ready. You can see that if the largest tech companies in the world from the United States are coming to invest heavily into Nairobi, into Kenya, then I think that those in the diaspora as well, I think, it's time you should be thinking, how can you come and make it here? And it is as well. There are challenges, and that's great because challenges make you tougher. And if you think around Nairobi itself and Kenya itself as being like the New York of Africa, they say if you can make it in New York, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. So if you can make a sustainable and working tech business out of Nairobi, you really you can say this is a proving ground to scale this across the continent. So that would be my interventions, and I'm looking forward to further questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Ben, for those remarks. It's from your opening. For those remarks, you say Kenya is open. There's opportunities for innovation. I think that's a good message. And you can invest or even go work. So there are multiple opportunities. I want to turn now to those of us who are in the diaspora. I want to talk first to Dr. Robert. I don't know if he's still with us, because you talked about a group that you're here with called One Voice. you've heard what we've had firsthand, that we're being invited, we've been told the opportunities are there. So from a diaspora perspective, what are these opportunities? Are you engaging? And have you also seen any challenges when you're trying to engage with the Kenya startup scene? Dr. Nixon, you're next. I'll come with a similar question to you, but if you can just hold on for a few minutes, let's hear first from Dr. Roberts.
Thank you very much, moderator, Dr. Munga. And kudos to you, Ben Roberts. You've mentioned a few things that particularly touch us here in the diaspora. The element of taking care of those who want to return back home and invest. And I'm glad to hear that some of them are even getting opportunities through your network and through your platforms and facilities. And that is sweet music for us here at One Voice Consortium, because this organization has over 150,000 members through our member organizations. We have big member organizations that are part of us, and each of those organizations have their own affiliates that they work with. And what you've just mentioned is very, very key and very, very important, because this is almost like what we call reverse migration. People who are now here, who have got a lot of resources, whether intellectual, whether educational, whether financial, that want to return back home and invest and be part of the economy in our home countries. And we do that very well on the financial sector in terms of remittances. As part of you already know that the diaspora is now currently has actually even overtaken coffee and tea in terms of remittances back home, in terms of value. And this is good because we want now to be also known for other things apart from remittances, and that's skills. We want to be a number one provider for skills transfer back home in the area of technology. And so what you've just mentioned, Ben, is very, very, very key. And a lot of our members are listening and seeing there's an opportunity. In fact, further to that, we have an upcoming conference on just investment in technology and other areas. It's going to be in Dallas, Texas, in May 2nd and 4th, where, again, as a diaspora, we are looking at what are the investment opportunities back home. And as you know, technology plays a part in many spheres, not just tech in itself is just a platform for other sectors, whether it is in agriculture, whether it is in business or in transport or in other institutions. Technology is a medium of facilitating what is going on. And so we will be having an investment conference in Dallas. And again, we welcome our diaspora to look at opportunities that are there back home for them to invest and invest in a very, very big way. In fact, coming week, we have another diaspora tech forum in one of our premier institutions called Proximity Point City in Malindi on April 11th to 13th. Again, that's a tech-based conference where our diaspora are discussing the opportunities that are there to invest in the knowledge that they have in various technology-led sectors, whether it is agriculture again, whether it is blue economy, that is fisheries and aquaculture, if it is in areas of real estate and building a whole city. In fact, we are planning to do a whole smart city around Malindi. So again, you can see the intent of our people in the diaspora to invest back home. And so Ben Roberts will be having a lot of discussions with you on how all these people are going to be part of what you're doing and do it in a great way. So I don't know whether I have answered all that questions for you, Dr. Munga, but I'll be happy to provide any other information.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Robert. It's a pleasure to hear about what you're doing. I would also request you, if you have any links or these events that you talk about, you can definitely put them in the chat. It would be good that we're all aware of how to engage and how to move forward together with the One Voice. I think there's a
and just one thing, Jen, whoever has a question to any of the panelists, please put it down on the chat. Grace is taking notes, and you can be able to be sure that they will be answered after the panel one is done.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. That's an important reminder. Put your questions in the chat. I want to check, is Linda with us? I don't want to miss out from hearing from her. If she is, she's welcome to take the floor. If not, I will go
Yeah,
to...
maybe I just want to mention there's a confusion. You know, Linda was in Kenya. She came here to US. So she's at the DC area. And there was a little confusion because already she had some conflicting arrangement. So she's trying to see if she's joining.
Okay, no worries. Thank you for that update. Then we'll proceed.
Dr.
Yes.
Munga, I'll request our Director of Operations, Dr. Okari, to post in the chat all those conferences that I've mentioned for One Voice Consortium.
Okay, thank you. Nixon, thank you for your patience, even being in Atlanta. I want to now come to you. When we hear about Boeing, I think the word excites most of us with the big planes. Maybe we've had the opportunity to fly in one of them. And there's even a question that has come on the floor that says, how this was phrased to Ben, but I want to kind of phrase this to you, because it says, how is Kenya ready to become a Boeing or any other big innovation hub? Where are the opportunities? What can we do? You are in this sector, you see the opportunities, what has to be done? So tell us a little bit about your experience in Boeing, what you see if Kenya wants to be the next tech hub, what is it that we need to be doing, and what definitely are the opportunities? Now over to you, Nixon.
Right. Thank you again for the opportunity. So generally, I think a couple of things I can point out. Number one, Kenya in itself has been trying to be one of the best in Africa when it comes to the aviation industry, which is great. Benchmarking is a key item that Kenya should consider. Countries such as Ethiopia, the aviation market and space continue to grow and expand. So from a market positioning standpoint, I think Kenya is doing great. They still need to invest more in training, increasing more people to be involved in STEM and technology. I think that's an area not only in Kenya, but in other parts of the world. So I think that is another area. And then the government itself needs to really take ownership of where to invest. If you compare Kenya with countries like Ethiopia, aviation is more government-owned and government-driven. So I think as technology space matures and government as well as policies continue to change, that will impact how the industry or the trajectory of the industry. I want to switch subjects just a little bit of the aviation platform and go into the general platform. When you work for large corporations such as Boeing, we actually are, I would say, one of the best in the world out there. Great place to be in when it comes to investments in technology and support and social, incorporating the social well-being. Boeing is involved in Kenya in STEM projects. We are one of the leading stewards when it comes to advancing technology, just like Microsoft is doing the same in other parts of the world. So I would say Boeing is doing its level best, but the country also has much to do. I want to stop from there and can you hear me? Could you confirm?
Sorry, for some reason you were muted. Yes, please, if you can just repeat what you said the last 30 seconds.
No, I said if you would allow me to just switch my approach to the question and cover a few other topics real quick that would benefit and help the particular panel and team, since I have to catch a flight. So I'll just talk in general, and then in the future, I think I'll get more opportunity to be more focused and address all the questions. So
sure, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Again, it will take just about 5 minutes, and this is to the Roberts, Dr. Robert and the other Robert. and many others. So when it comes to emerging technology and startup and how can they foster innovation, what are the challenges out there? I think the one thing that comes right in mind is the readiness, the timing. Dr. Robert talked about Kenya being ready right now. So it's all about the timing. So when the timing is right, what does that mean? It means that maybe there's interest in investment, and maybe the people in the country, the youth in the country, the startups in the country, they're just ready to unlock innovation and get to the next step, but they need a little help. All right. So moving from the timing and looking at data analytics is another area that continues to expand. When it comes to data analytics, it's helping to drive the right decisions, quick sharing of information. We can look at how is data analytics being applied even in making best decisions when it comes to smart cities, right? What are you benchmarking again is you can look at mobility and drone technology. So we talked about Boeing, and you can look at small startups in Africa, even building their own drones. So you can do that as well. So that's another technology that is open out there. When you look at urban cities and you look at when you build your urban cities, what does it look like from a supply chain integration standpoint, right? From a supply chain standpoint, it means you need to invest more in digital integration, really to stabilize that thread. You need a strong supply chain, all right? You look at the technologies from 4G, 5G, and so on. What does that look like? And how does it support the entire integration and the seamless growth of technologies, because the market is ready, right? So you can engage the youth in software application, programming, coding, getting them to learn more about all that rich knowledge, translating that into AI, machine learning, build more virtual reality. These are things that I think the youth can do today. But the one thing I really think is important is as we look at technologies and the challenges thereof, we need to look at our approach from World Health Organization. What are their, I think it's called the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. If you take the 17 goals, that are World Health Organization driven, right? What are those sustainable goals? There's partnership goals, right? So we have partners with the government, we have other entities, and then we have startups. How can they build their technologies or investment around driving that or meeting those sustainable goals? So I think if you look your thought process around what are the goals, and then you build your technologies towards meeting those goals, I think the synergy that will naturally morph in and help us to advance the goals. So those are my key takeaways for the team. So think about what those sustainable goals are as you talk about technology as well. And then how can your technology, the digital technologies, help us to meet those goals? So thanks again for the time. I hope that's helpful.
That was very helpful, Dr. Nixon. I like the last point, technology for social impact. So technology that is going to help us solve some of the challenges that we have, the persistent challenges. So really enjoyed hearing you speak. Readiness is there. You say data analytics, manufacturing, urban cities, and of course, the last one, how do we improve the SDGs with technology? I don't know how much.
Yes. One last item, and then I'm stepping off. I really apologize. And so if you look at the global manufacturing value for, let's say, 2016, you find that the global manufacturing market, the value add market, is about 45%. But if you look at the sub-Sahara, what you get from that big pie, right, is only 15%. And so when you talk about ready and we talk about scaling, when you do your scaling, you're also looking at attracting more investment, increasing your pie. So maybe it can be 20%, and then what does that do to GDP and the economy? So just think about all those elements to address the needs of the world. Thanks again.
Thank you very much. I see Ben has a question. I think it's for you. I don't know how much time you have. If you have 1 more minute, at least, because you referred to him. If you're able at least to listen to him before you have to drop out.
I'll really
thanks.
go ahead and ask the question.
I just wanted, it's not a question, but I wanted to say one thing before you go, Nixon. I like what you're saying about the potential of drone technology, and I just wanted to share. I sort of intimated in my remarks that Kenya is a great base for expansion of technology across a whole continent. It's not just about one little country of 50 million people. It is about a whole continent of almost 1.5 billion people, and in that area of drone technology, it's clear to me that it's actually becoming one of the hubs of that technology in the continent. When I was traveling to West Africa sometime last year, I was flying to Ghana, and sitting next to me on the plane was a young man who'd come to Kenya to learn to get his international pilot's license for flying drones that would be compatible across the whole of the African continent. So he wanted to be a drone pilot in Ghana, and he'd come to Kenya to come and get his training done and get his license done. So really, Nick said that was a great point, because and it's kind of what I'm talking to is that we're ahead of most of the rest of the apart from a couple of countries that are more advanced in Africa. We're ahead of most, and really it's a springboard for a whole continent and not just for one country.
I think it's a very good point, because even looking at drone technology, we have areas that may not have access to medicine, and you can use drone to drop medicines to those areas as well. You can use drone for your smart farming. I think it's Dr. Robert talked about agriculture. You see drone coming into play in fertilizers, how you spread, it does a lot of things. So I think there are just a lot of opportunities. And back to you again for modulation, and thanks for the time.
And thank you very much, and we wish you safe travels. I do want to shift our session now a little bit, because I'm also cognizant of the time. We have about 10-15 minutes left, and I want to get some interaction from those of us who are with us. And thank you, everybody, of course, for joining us this morning, this afternoon, this evening, wherever you are. I have a couple of questions on the chat. I can start with those, but unless there's someone who has also a question, if you have one, you can lift your hand, or the virtual one, or you can somehow get my attention so we can give you the floor to ask a question. But since I don't see anything so far, I will go to the question on the screen. The first question was asked earlier by let me see. It was on the one on AWS that we. Oh, sorry. Hi, are there any businesses for industrial tools lending or rentals and training in the country today? The name is not there. It's by iPhone AR. And then there was a question by Karemi. Hi, Ben, is Kenya ready to become an AWS region? How close or far are we? That question is specifically to you, Ben, but also Dr. Robert is still here. So please feel free also to weigh in. And also there's a third question. What specific strategies can startups adopt to secure their digital presence and successfully compete against well-financed foreign rivals, leveraging lessons from Safaricom's success story, where limited competition and innovation played a pivotal role in its growth? So I see Mark has come on. I don't know if Mark wants to weigh in before I go ahead. He's our convener.
No question. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So I think I didn't see Dr. Shiko, so I went ahead and did the question and answer on the screen. So giving it to the floor to either Ben or Dr. Robert, who are here with us. Please feel free to answer any of those three. Dr. Robert, go ahead.
Yeah, so thank you, Dr. Munga. This area of equipment rental and accessing small-scale devices to people so that they can be able to solve certain challenges or problems that they have is an area that I think is ripe for investment. I know here in advanced economies, rental companies for equipment, say in road construction or in agriculture, are very much entities that are in every city or in every region. But I think this is one area in which our diaspora and people back home can take advantage of, especially those people who have equipment, but they would want to scale it up to become rentals. I've seen in the areas of vehicle rentals or vehicle leasing, that's an area that is becoming very, very lucrative. And I would encourage more people to consider the area of equipment rental, whether it is for agriculture, whether it is for real estate and housing construction, whether it's for road construction, particularly areas where you can partner with other small scale businesses, SMEs, so that you can facilitate this technology to the grassroots or to the common people around where you are. So I think we are looking at an area that is ripe for investment in terms of equipment that can be leased to people for developing the economies in various areas. And I've been told that there are those that are even resisting technology, especially companies that are in the area of tea harvesting, because they feel that this may replace the workers that are there. But I think in the end, I'm being informed that we have to continue investing more in technology and more into even artificial intelligence. Because somebody recently said that if they are worried that artificial intelligence is going to replace workers, but the saying is that workers that are not learning artificial intelligence or taking it into consideration, then they're going to be replaced. So it is you have to understand that technology is for making us better, not replacing us in what we are doing. So I think we need also to change the narrative that technology is there to improve and enhance what we are doing, but not to replace us. And therefore, I would urge many people to invest into technology and infrastructure and devices that help people improve and solve the problems that they're having. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Roberts. I like that. Let's see how to use technology. It's not coming to replace, but how to enhance. There are arguments that go both ways. But Johnson, I see your name, but before I give you an opportunity, I see you've raised your hand. I want to give the floor to panelist, Ben Roberts, to also respond to those initial questions. Then I'll come to you, Johnson.
Thanks, Jane. Yeah, look, I'll just add one thing to the conversation around equipment, rentals, tools, and it's a policy matter, actually. One thing to note is that if you are anybody who's requiring tools of the trade, and that can be, we've heard Robert mention motor vehicles, but it can be as simple as, if you're a plumber, tools of doing plumbing, drills and whatever. But somewhere in the middle, machines that are there for setting up workshops, for making manufacturing, small scale, medium scale. Yes, there is great opportunity for financing machines. That is the biggest hurdle that I think anybody who's trying to manufacture anything is facing, is the struggle for scaling up and getting machines. And the cost of finance is very high in Kenya. So when we talk about financing, we're not looking for more digital Shylocks. We're actually looking for affordable financing, and that is something that is below the bank rates. The banks are lending at 17 or 18%, which is not really conducive for buying high-end things. But as a policy matter, I want to add that certain machines, when you bring them in, might be completely exempt of all taxes, including VAT, like bringing in a tractor. will be totally VAT exempt. But bringing in a machine to make injection molding or something, you'll be paying, even if it's duty exempt, you'll be paying 16% VAT. And as we know, VAT refunds are not forthcoming from the Kenya Revenue Authority. So if you import a machine that it's going to make things for the next 5 years, and you'll sell those things, you'll charge VAT on selling those things. But when you bring that machine in, you're going to have to pay VAT on that machine, and you won't get that VAT refunded to you because the Revenue Authority doesn't seem to honor its privilege and its obligations to refund VAT. So you only get the VAT refunded to you over 5 years when you charge VAT on your sold goods and you don't remit that VAT. So every time you bring a machine in, you're lending money to the government of Kenya because they're not paying back the VAT that they should be paying back when you import the goods. To the question around, is Kenya ready for an AWS zone? AWS have announced that they will be adding 2 local zones to Africa, building on their data center in South Africa. So they have an availability zone in South Africa. They'll be launching 2 local zones, 2 local edge zones in Nigeria and Kenya. I think they've launched Nigeria already. I can't speak for them. I don't work for them, but I would say that I am aware of the progress that they have in building out the AWS local availability zone in Kenya. And I don't know when it will be launched, but the readiness, I would call it days or weeks. So yes, I would expect that AWS might be making some announcement, but I can't speak for them. So encouraging news there. That will possibly be, well, it will be in fact the first instance of, it will definitely be the first instance of hyperscale cloud in Kenya. Oracle also have recently announced that they'll be building an Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Zone in Kenya as well. So they'll be the first 2 cloud providers in Kenya. The last question is about competing with well-funded foreign investors. I didn't really quite understand it. I mean, I don't know if you're coming to start a business in Kenya. I don't think it's something you have to worry about unless you are, going to go head up against an existing business that is a well-funded foreign investor. I don't think it's the consideration. I think there are plenty of other areas to try out that you don't say, well, let me try and do something that someone else is doing already. Try and find a non-existing niche that's not been solved and make a product and service for that niche. I wouldn't worry about competition from well-funded foreign investors. I would say, do something else. Yeah.
Thank you, Ben. We're coming towards the end, and I have a question or a raised hand from Johnson. Thank you for your patience, Johnson. So please introduce yourself, and you can be brief with your question. You have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, the moderator, and also all the panelists who've shared the insights into this topic today. My name is Johnson Kosgei. I'm based here in Los Angeles. I wear multiple hats, but I'm also the co-chair for innovation and technology sector at One Voice Consortium. While I'm based in California, I seesaw between Silicon Valley and Silicon Beach in Hollywood. Moreover, I go back and forth between the US and Kenya because of business interest in Kenya. So Robert, your earlier comment about timing being crucial, I think as a startup operating on both sides of the pond, we've seen that firsthand. I wish we had this discussion a few years, 2 or 3 years before today. But the question that I have, just to get to the point, is part of what I see as valuable investment that the diaspora can do in Kenya is exporting what I may consider to be the soft skills, the work ethics, the ingredients to productivity I believe that Kenya is very well endowed with highly skilled young people and individuals. But I find that there's a gap between being great at programming or coding or AI and actually being productive. So how does the industry bridge the gap between, you have these fresh, brilliant minds out of colleges and institutions. How do you bridge the gap between getting those brilliant minds to be actually work in a constructive way, to be productive towards the goals of the organization? And I say this amidst a backdrop of having had about 50% turnover in just 2 years of the team, because the brilliant minds doesn't necessarily translate into productivity and work ethics and the soft skill side of it. Yeah. How do you bridge that gap? And I'm happy to talk about this also offline. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Johnson. That's a very critical question. And I think it's one that I'm also eager to hear the feedback from our speakers. I also want to add, because we are now about running out of our 1 hour slot for the first session. As you answer that question, please could you also give us your closing or what you'd call your final comments around this? I'm very curious also to hear if there are other opportunities you'd want to put on the floor that say that this is how we can quickly scale up innovation and tech startups. Also, as a Kenya, I'm always concerned that we have a lot of these tech startups. We've not seen the big scale startups that we would want eventually to see coming out of Kenya. So if you also can indulge me in that and give me some feedback on that. So I will start with Dr. Robert. If you can have the floor, please. Dr. Robert, you're muted. Let me see if I can ask. There you go.
Is that me?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. And thank you, Johnson, for that question. I think it's a great question because, as we all know, that we can be very innovative, we can be very creative, we can have all these technology transfers, but there are other human social issues that are equally important in maintaining and sustaining those innovations and technology. And I'm particularly saying this because even based on the recent research, and if in fact even outcomes from the World Economic Forum, the one that is in Switzerland, they did a research and they've seen that the area of skilled force in the tech area is one of the areas that is really the supporting factor in growth of many technology companies. In fact, especially for fintechs, it has been found that talent acquisition and training and human resource development has been part of the area that has really helped fintechs to grow very, very, very well. And especially in Africa, you have already seen a lot of startups that are in the fintech area doing very, very well because they are going through major training, and especially again training their people on soft skills that Johnson mentioned about in areas of ethics, in areas of compliance, in areas of just getting to know how to serve the customer base that they have. So I think this area of technology and in terms of startups, they need to invest a little bit more into those soft skills areas, especially where now technology cannot just exist in itself. It has to be applied somewhere. So we must have those what we would call applied ethics within technology, so that the human interaction of technology and the social outputs that would be there can be able to be enhanced very well. We are seeing companies out there in the, and of course, all of you know, Kenya and East Africa were the leaders in mobile money transfer. And some of those companies are doing very, very well because they have big programs of training their people to become better at serving their customers and so forth, and maintaining the infrastructure that they have. So I think as we continue with this subject, we need to ensure that we invest more into helping companies do training, human resource development, product patenting, and even having competitions where people can be able to know how best to be able to maintain the innovations that they have. So I think that's an opportunity out there in terms of enhancing soft skills, but particularly also addressing this from an early stage as people are going through the education system, so that all these soft skills we are talking about, ethics and compliance issues, and should start up in an early stage where people are addressing this as they go through early childhood education, through primary education, through technical institutions, so that it becomes not just that tech isn't on its own, but it is also enhanced with other soft skills that are going to make it sustainable.
Thank you. That's a great answer. Enhancing soft skills as well. Mark, I know we are running out of time. We'll give you one minute to ask Ben Roberts, our other panelists, to respond to the answer and also give his final comments.
So you asking a question to them?
To Ben,
Ben Roberts.
Ben, I wanted Ben to give his final. He was to respond to Johnson's question and also to give his closing remarks.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, I thought you were asking Mac a question. Yeah, look, I don't think I want to confuse the area of ethics and soft skills. For me, soft skills is obviously very important and is something that is life skills, but and this perhaps goes back to conversation I was having recently around this story or this subject of Kenyans getting jobs abroad, getting remote jobs abroad, working, teleworking, and fulfilling jobs in other countries by doing remote working, and their soft skills are absolutely crucial in terms of the way you're working. But I don't think we want to confuse that with ethics. I don't quite know what to say, but there is perhaps a warning. I was bigging up there's a definite opportunity for diaspora investment into tech in Kenya, but it's something that will scare off diaspora in terms of if you're making investments and you're not there watching it, over your shoulder, it might be something you might worry about. If you are living in the US and you think about building a home in Kenya, that would be a very scary thing if you were not actually there, very far away from building a house. Even me and my wife, we would build a house on one side of Nairobi. We were living on another side, and just even being there 2 or 3 times a week and seeing the progress of a house being built with issues of work ethics and the quality and finishing and execution of what you might expect. You have to be right on top of it. So that might be something that scares off investors, but I think it is something that you have to take care of. But I don't want to confuse that with soft skills. I don't think necessarily that soft skills can be imported to Kenya, but I do think that Kenya has a great opportunity to export certain areas of where it's good in its soft skills. Right, you see hospitality as being something where you go to any hotel in the region of this part of the world, you'll see Kenyans, working and being the hotel managers, for instance, right? Because they're good at hospitality. But there are ups and downs of soft skills, but I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that big a crisis. That is something that we need. That is not the area that we need. That we need diaspora intervention. I think it's probably it's more going to be the where foreign investment can come in is going to be more. Yeah, and foreign and diaspora investment is going to be more around the actual technical skills. But lots of noise. In concluding, I don't know how to conclude, but I think it's been encouraging discussion. I love the idea of what Dr. Robert is working on with the smart city in Malindi. I do love the coast. So I do want to find out a bit more about that. Yeah, I'm not sure what else to add on a parting shot, but everything is ready. Basically, I think my message is consistent. It is a good time to come, and it's a good time to come back, or it's a good time to come and invest and invest back into the country. And we're looking forward to seeing more great interactions with this community in the US. And I'm happy that Mac and your team, you're making this initiative to make these connections. And I was recently chatting with the new nominated ambassador to the West Coast of LA, and he's a good friend of mine, and he's coming out there. And I was saying, this is, I think, the bigger opportunity for economic diplomacy between the United States and Kenya is how the diaspora can be investing back into the country.
All right. Thank you very much. I know our time is up, but first I just want to say thank you to you, Ben, Dr. Robert, and Dr. Opondo, who had to leave. I want to just appreciate you again, and for everybody asking your questions, for your engagements. No further words from me, but to hand it back to Mark. And thank you also for having me, Mark.
Thank you so much. I know I wish we had more time to spend and talk about these things. Soft skill is something that I'm passionate about. We do tech, we do upskilling, and that's what I do. Like the main thing I do, we support people back in Kenya and here. I know I've had a discussion with Dr. Shiko. She's also doing an amazing job to support people back there. She wasn't in because she was about to get to the airport. Shiko, are you here? If you're here, please just say a word. And also, Linda, if you're here for just a minute.
Hi, everyone. Now you've told everyone I'm traveling. Thank you very much, Mark.
Hi, Shiko. I know where you
You are traveling, right?
Hi, Ben. Yeah. So hi, Ben, and hi, team. Thank you so much. I know the discussion was great. I'm going to listen to the recording. And yes, we are working very, very hard to ensure that we are bridging that gap, the gap between Africa and the rest of the world in terms of talent. So more to come. And I agree with what Ben is saying. Soft skills are important, but it is work ethics is even more important because people want just quality work done well. And that's why the combination of what it's called cultural contextual skills, that's what it's being called now. Contextual skills is very, very, very important, which is a combination of soft skills and what I just said, soft skills and work ethics. So thank you so much, Mark, and everyone else.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we are sorry we're getting late, but allow me to welcome second panel, being led by our own very serious moderator since the beginning of these sessions we've had. This is our fourth one. Grace has always been with us here. I want to introduce Grace. Works with Nation Media, which is one of the best nation media houses in Kenya, and she's been here with us. She's going to take care of second panel as the moderator. Grace, if you can hear me, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mark. Welcome, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good night, based from where you are. we'll be having the second panel, which is about funding opportunities for tech startups and innovators. Allow me to invite our panelists. We have Matt Magera, he's the CEO of Jobsy. Then we have Ngugi Karega, who's the co-founder of Skiza. And then we have Dr. Jean Lear, who's the founder of Alfiti4. And we have engineer James Rege. Karibuni sana. So maybe I'll start by, if Matt is in, I can shoot this question to you. What are the current trends and challenges in accessing funding for tech startup, tech startups, and innovators in Kenya? That's to you, Mark. You can unmute yourself and.
Please mute yourself if you're not talking. Okay. So fine. So you
is
may
Mark
Matt is here. Matt Magura is here. Matt,
sorry.
Yep.
Matt, go ahead.
I think maybe he's having a challenge with his audio. I bet he's here. How about you move to the next person? Engineer Rege is here. We can start with Engineer Rege if possible.
Okay, engineer, you can take the question. Would you like for me to repeat it? Engineer?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, you want me to talk?
Yes, go ahead. Would you like for me to repeat the question?
Please do. I was away for a short time.
Yes, I was asking, based on the current trends, what are the challenges of accessing funds for, say, tech startups and innovators, especially in Kenya?
Are we introducing ourselves? Because some of us we haven't met.
Yes, I
started with that.
I already introduced you, but you can, yes, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Oh, I didn't hear. Sorry. My name is James Rege. I'm a Kenyan living in the US right now, retired, but not tired. I will talk about my experiences. Right now, I'm the president of SkyMax Network, which is a company which is involved in developing the latest technology in 5G standalone, not the one that you know, which depends on 4G network. And we are trying to launch all over Africa countries. We are based here in Bethesda, in Maryland, in Washington, DC. But before that, I was in Kenya. I was chairman of Ketraco. Now I'm also still in Kenya, but director at Kenya Power. So I'm in both worlds. As you know, technology has removed geographical boundaries in the world. Grace, what I love so much is that I've seen it all. I was there when there was not even, when communication was 9 kilobits per second. I was there when you could send messages at 75 baud, not even 1 kilobits per second. Today, we are talking on our phones, which operate at some serious high-speed bandwidth. Why I'm so happy about that is because I was part of it, part of the development. When I was PS ICT in Kenya, I was lucky that at that time I had just come out of consulting for AT&T in Ring Around Africa. That is the fiber undersea cable. So when I became ICT PS, I talked with head of civil service, Mudaura, if we could bring in undersea cable in the country. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what you are enjoying today. It was my brainchild. I handed it over to Ndemo, and Ndemo did a good job in making sure that it flourished. I have traveled globally. In fact, I'm a child of all countries in the world. From telecom to power to ICT and all of that. And I know, or I have some rough idea on how we can raise funds. So the question is, how can we help technology growth? Right, Chris? Where are you?
Yes, I'm following.
The question is how we can raise funds. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
We can look at many ways, including angel investors, crowdfunding, accelerators, and so on. The angel investors are typically affluent individuals who provide capital startups in ownership, or they ask for ownership or equity or convertible debt. That is one. And some examples of these could be seen from people like the late Chris Kirubi. He was one of the examples in Kenya who could do fundraising for the youth, but unfortunately we lost him. Crowdfunding could involve raising small amounts of money from a large number of people, typically through online platforms. There are several types of crowdfunding, including rewards-based crowdfunding, where backers receive rewards or products in return for their investment. Equity crowdfunding, where backers receive equity in the company, and donation based on crowdfunding, where backers donate funds without expecting financial returns. Crowdfunding platforms in Kenya include, what do you call it, Mchanga? Who knows about it? Is it called Mchanga? A popular platform for raising funds for various projects, which include startup ventures. Accelerators are programs designed to help startups grow and scale their business rapidly. They typically offer a combination of seed investment, mentorship, educational workshops, networking opportunities, and access to resources such as office space and legal support. Accelerator programs usually have a fixed duration, ranging from a few months to a year, during which startups work intensively to develop their products, refine their business models, and prepare for further funding rounds. Examples of accelerators in Kenya include NILAB, iHub, and Africa's Talking Accelerator, which have supported numerous tech startups in the country. I hope I'm talking about issues that most of us have come across, right? Those are some of the areas that our startup techs could look into. Should I expand on that, please? I think that is the basic that they could look into right now. was thinking about how we could assist them get to these places or advise them on ways to do it. And I would like to say that our startup techs they should not be involved in mistakes such as lack of market research and clear value proposition, overestimating market size, weak team dynamics, or ignoring feedbacks from advisors. They should stick to advices from some serious people like Ben Roberts. I heard Ben Roberts talk very well about technology, and I'm so happy to be here with him. If you want me to expand on that, maybe later on, I would like to answer questions on these issues, please. So let me leave
Okay,
it.
thank you. Yes, thank you, Engineer. That was very clear and detailed, what you've presented. I now want to shoot a question to Matt. Matt, if you're in the call, this one is for you. Based on your experience, I'd like to know more about how did mentorship and networking help you secure funding for your tech startup, or for anyone who has a tech startup or an innovator? Matt?
I'm here. I hope you can get me.
Yes, I can get you. Matt.
Yeah, so the way I see it, I think our tech community in Africa is still pretty small. And really, actually, in reality, I don't want to say the only way, but I'd say the only way you'd actually raise money in this space is through networks and existing relationships. Like majority of the capital is going to people who, you know, people who you've interacted with in the space, people who you have relationships with. It's not really the Silicon Valley style where you meet at a cafe one day and then somebody just writes you a check. No, there's much less capital, and most of the capital moving around here is based off relationship. I think that's how I see it as from my experience in the space.
Okay, maybe I have a follow-up question for you. Would you provide some insights maybe into how various funding options are available for, that's not the question. Let me just repeat it. Based on what you've gone through as the CEO of Jobsy, what are some of the key criteria that maybe investors look for when deciding to invest in a tech startup?
I'd say one major thing is traction. Maybe that's what's particularly different with other markets. I think in other markets, you can probably have an idea on a paper and raise capital, but in Africa, you'd really need to validate whatever it is you're selling, meaning you'd have traction. And the definition of traction in this market is users paying for your product, not just users, not just a product, not just users, but paying users. So I think that's a strong criteria that I've seen across the board. Though there are some few who might, the rules might bend in some scenarios, but in the most of the times it's traction. That's the main criteria. Have you validated your product? Do people really want what it is you're selling? Is there someone willing to pay for it? And the only way you tell you're building something meaningful or building something people want is that there are people who are paying you for it, because you only pay for problems you have. If it's not a problem, you won't pay for it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mark. I'll move on to Ngugi Karega. As a co-founder of Skiza, how would you say, what are some of the advice you'd give for tech startups and say innovators on how to pitch your ideas to investors? What do they need to do? How do they need to prepare themselves for that?
Grace, I think Ngugi just sent me a message here. The light just went off. He's based in Kenya. because we understand the problem of Kenya sometimes.
Okay, then I can ask the same question to Dr. Jean Leah. Jean Leah, are you on the call?
Yes. Sorry, what was the question again?
The question was about pitching. How do you prepare yourself for that? What do you need to do? What do you need to say?
Yeah, so first I want to at least introduce myself, and I think it would have been great to have the second panel have a chance to introduce themselves. So that at least the audience can understand what people are doing and maybe what products they're building and things like that. So my name is Jean, and co-founder of AI54. I'm not based in Kenya. I'm based in the US. My company is a boutique consulting company in the AI space, helping, small businesses build their AI strategies, understand what roadmap, they can build to figure out their AI strategies. So having said that, pitching, I think, is extremely important to a company. So my background is in engineering, and I've been in this AI space for the last 10 years, build and deployed models, in the tech space, in the e-commerce space, and also in academia. But I want to go a little bit back because I feel like we want to go into pitching even before we at least understand, what's the startup space like in Kenya? What's the tech startup space like in Kenya, right? And I think, I think a few panelists have talked about like innovation, this digital skill set and things like that. Pitching requires soft skills. And I think Joseph, Kip Kuril or someone brought along that aspect of soft skills, right? I do advise quite a few startups in the African space. I do invest in a few startups here in the US. I do participate in judgment of tech startups that are looking for funding here in the US, and particularly with university aspect of things, right? I mean, and pitching is very, at every given moment you're pitching, right? Before this meeting, I just had a quick meeting with a startup in Kenya, and my articulation points to him at every single point. If you have a startup, you're pitching, you're raising money, you're selling your product, you're informing. So pitching is not, for me, pitching is not that, I'm just sitting down and preparing a presentation and, just saying I need funding, right? That is at the structured level. But I could be in an elevator and say, oh my God, I have this idea, and, this is what I do, and this is where I am. And, I could be like, oh, I know somebody that can, invest in your startup, talk to this person. And I've done that numerous times in a way that relationships have panned out to be quite interesting. So, to me, that aspect of being able to communicate, articulate your idea very well, and what is it that you want, right? Half of the time, I think our attention span as people, we have, been reduced to like 2 seconds, 2 minutes, or whatever you're not, right? So be very, very clear in what you want. When you approach investors, know that you want money, you want an advisor, you want, an introduction. What is it that you want? I think it's critical to really be very clear about what you want. But every single moment, if you have a startup, every single moment is a pitching moment, right? Besides the slide deck that you can present. Does that make sense?
It does, and pitching is very scary. And when you're pitching, you also don't really know if your idea is exactly how you're articulating it, because sometimes you might pitch and people are telling you, okay, I don't understand your idea. So what are the common mistakes people make during this process of pitching your
So listen, if pitching is scary for you, then your idea is not, you're not passionate about your idea, right? You don't believe in your idea, right? Because by the time I'm pitching to you, is I believe in this idea. I've done enough research to say, here's a market, there is a really need. I believe in the idea. And as long as you believe in the idea, then you can talk about it every day. You can just receive a text and say, you need to have a meeting in the next 30 minutes. And you can just wake up and pitch because you understand the idea, you have researched very well the market, and you're passionate about it, right? And usually when you're passionate about an idea that you really want to build, solve a problem, and you have a solution to the problem, right? It's not about pitching much more than I have a solution to a problem that is needed in the society. And this solution, I totally believe in it, right? So it doesn't have to be scary, because if it's scary, then you probably don't really haven't defined very well what it is. But if you have a very good solid, here's a problem, I just haven't done like a copy and paste. There's an element of I'm passionate about this work. Whether I get some money or not, I'll be able to mortgage my own home to push this idea. I'll be able to, do whatever it takes to, because you believe in it.
Thank you for that.
So for me, pitching doesn't have to be very scary because it's an idea, it's a solution to a problem.
Okay, thank you very much. I have a question for engineer. What role can government policies and initiatives play in, say, fostering a conducive environment for tech startups and getting funding? Engineer?
Engineer, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. Government is a willing government that is willing to help startups can do a lot. Am I clear now?
Yes, we can.
Government can offer financial incentives such as tax breaks, grants, and subsidies to encourage investment in startups. These incentives reduce the financial burden on investors and provide startups with the capital they need to grow with. Also, regulatory framework, establishing a clear and favorable regulatory framework can instill confidence in investors and startups alike. Regulations that streamline business registration, intellectual property protection, and investment processes, all these can lower barriers to entry and facilitate funding. Access to infrastructure, that is one area also. Governments can invest in infrastructure such as high-speed internet, co-working spaces, and innovation hubs to create supportive ecosystem for startups. Access to reliable infrastructure is also essential for tech startups to develop and scale their business. Education and training, governments can support programs that provide education and training in entrepreneurship, innovation and technology by equipping aspiring entrepreneurs with the skills that they need. Research and development funding is another way that the government can still in startups by investing in research and development. In fact, most governments should budget at least 2% for research and development. And this is where one area where startups can also benefit from. Public procurement, governments can support tech startups by awarding contracts and procurement opportunities to innovative and high growth companies. By serving as anchors customers, governments can provide startups with a steady source of revenue and validation of their products and services. Government can also do, through their embassies, international collaborations. They can facilitate international collaboration and partnerships to support the growth of tech startups. Initiatives such as trade emissions, bilateral agreements, and cross-border investment programs. All these can create opportunities for startups. Overall, government policies and initiatives can play a critical role in creating supportive ecosystem for funding tech startups and innovators.
Thank you, Engineer, for that. Matt, you didn't introduce yourself, so this question is for you also as you introduce yourself and what you do. What are some of the emerging trends and maybe new opportunities in the funding landscape for tech startups?
So I start with a quick intro and then I talk. Okay, then I answer the question. I hope I got that right.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so my name's Matt Magera. I've been working, I think I've been in the tech space for about the past 5 years, worked on a number of projects here and there. Started fairly young, it's been an exciting road, a lot of lessons learned. So on a day-to-day, I run a company called Jobly. So we ideally, at the moment, our main product is a HR tool. So we help employers hire people and run background checks on them. So that's what I do on a day-to-day. Also, I'm tech enthusiast. Love working with other guys. I love helping guys work out their problems, stuff like that. So that's me in a nutshell. So what kind of tech trends are there? I think what's big now. Okay, I'm not sure if it's still big, but AI has been big for like the better part of the past 2 years with ChatGPT and OpenAI and everything happening within that space. So that's been a major trend within our ecosystem for the past 2 years or so. I think this year, Web3 and crypto is making a comeback. We're in a bull market again. Bitcoin is halving within the next month. By halving means after a certain period, the number of Bitcoins rewarded to miners cuts in half. So there will be a halving event within the month. So that's another big tech trend. So it's led to a Bitcoin bull market. It hit its highest price, which is $70,000 US dollars this month. That's the highest price ever, higher than 2020, higher than 2017. So we have a big Web3 excitement. We have a lot of Web3 excitement at the moment. There's also been AI. So yeah, those are the current tech trends. Now, is there anything else happening? I'm not so sure, but I think those are the biggest trends at the moment. Yeah, so there's also a lot of funding opportunity within the areas because since the market has slightly recovered, investor appetite has increased a bit. So investors are willing to give guys money. Last year it was so tough, and the year before, but I think investor appetite has increased. Yeah, so you're able to raise, especially in the Web3 and AI space.
Thank you for that, Matt. Dr. Jean, what do you have to say about that?
In terms of emerging trends?
Yes.
I think, for me, and I come from the school of thought because I've been again in this AI world for the last 10 years. So I've seen it grow from inception and to now when it's getting mainstream. So the emerging trends for the future will be mostly, I think Nixon, talked about, those the development goals, right? So how can AI enable those kind of areas? And so it will be, very domain or functional specific, where how can we collect enough data to be able to understand weather patterns so that we can improve food security especially in Africa. We collect and renewable energy enough to influence the education sector, right? Understand some of those areas, right? Trends is where AI becomes very domain specific, and based on those domain specific, how can AI enable that, right? So I think that's where at least the industry, and I'm gonna say the industry here in the US a little bit is heading, but I think from the Kenyan perspective, being able to collect data, and use that data as an asset more than anything else, especially in places like agriculture and healthcare. I think in Kenya, mostly agriculture, healthcare, and government, right? There is enough places where that data is lacking, and AI or models building or machine learning cannot exist without data, right? And I don't think in Africa or whatever, we have collected enough data to enable such cases. I also want to go a little bit back. I think you asked about a question about innovation, and I want to explain something a little bit in terms of technology innovation and how ecosystems at least work, right? And normally, when you look at things like Google or Moderna or even Gatorade, they came from the university. Mostly in the developed world, university, right? And those startups get enough funding from the government in such a way they don't have to collect. I think I lost you, press twice.
Have we lost Leah?
Lee, I think she's having a challenge. Meanwhile, maybe yeah, somebody has something just to.
Yes. Can I?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. I just wanted to talk
Sorry.
about. Can we? Oh, she's back.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry about that.
It's okay.
Yeah, so what I wanted to say, because I've done a lot of experience in both academia and industry, and even building startups, right? And so I think the engineer talked about research and development, right? And that research, when it comes from the university, it goes into the industry. In terms of like licensing. So that technology then is licensed, to a company. So Google likes technology from the university, from Stanford, and then you go and commercialize. So when you commercialize, Google, you pay taxes. The population pays taxes. It goes back to the government, and the government funds research. That research you get in form of grants. So very early in the proof of concept, most startups get non-diluted funds from the government in such a way they are able to do their proof of concept. by the time they go and raise, venture capital. And I feel like there's that disconnect, I think, in Kenya, where the proof of concept, when you haven't completely had a proof of concept and you're trying to raise funds, right? And because an investor needs a return on investment, right? And so, so there is that gap that needs to be filled. And sometimes it could be what they call the 3 Fs, right? The family, friends, and fools that invest in your proof of concept. But I think, that gap is where a lot of startups in Kenya are finding a lot of difficult in moving from your proof of concept and being able to show some sort of traction a little bit where an investor can come in, but I think that's something, an ecosystem that, perhaps policy needs to be enacted, Shiko, or, sorry, Shiko, I'm just calling you out. But, and I'm just happy to also bounce this sort of ideas that any way I can help. So, yeah.
Thank you for that, Leah. Engineer, you can continue.
Yes. I want to say this because it's very practical. We and our directors, we have been able to raise at least 11 billion Kenya shillings worth in order to roll out a 5G standalone network in Africa. And it was not easy. We had to research properly. We had to do proper business plan, and we had to be very clear with our propositions. Each one of us, what skills were we bringing on board? We had to estimate properly the market size, and of course, our team dynamics. What we found out was that some funders were hooks. They toot that they have a lot of money, but when you dig properly, you find out that they have been making money. Actually, what they tell you is that there's no money down, but down the line, they come up and tell you, look, you have to put down at least maybe 4% of the value of the money that you want us to raise. And then when you go through a lawyer, the lawyer will do a proper research and find out that that guy has been getting money from people unjustly, and eventually they actually get into jails. Some of them come up to say, oh, we have bonds. And indeed, they have bonds, but they may have bonds, but bonds, how do you fund it? How do you get cash from it? That's a difficult question. If you are just doing a startups, you may not even know or have a way of understanding it properly. We never ignored any feedbacks that we came across that people gave us in goodwill. We studied them. We passed them by our lawyers to take a look at their propositions. And in fact, it took us about 2 years to raise this kind of fund globally. It's not just in the US, but also in European countries. We went everywhere to look for this money, but finally, we did get, what we wanted, so that we are able to roll out this network. I told you earlier that I have a lot of experience. In fact, from 1995 until now, I've been involved in startups. Vodacom Tanzania is my baby, and I started it from a coffee table. I approached Vodacom South Africa. They told me, no, Tanzania is the poorest country in the world. We cannot get ourselves involved. But I never ceased, I never stopped insisting that they come along with us. That is after I had gone through a lot of big companies in South Africa, like Radio Spoor, who promised me, and after 2 weeks, they come back to say, oh, we are bankrupt, sorry, we can't help you. So I persisted in talking with Vodacom. At one time, I just asked them, look, let me just use your name, and that will be it. I can raise funds from other banks to start up this company. But local investors in the country, in Tanzania, assisted a lot, and we were able to raise some money from the banks. We did 3 base stations in Dar es Salaam. And when we launched, Vodacom came back and took over everything. Vodacom South Africa, they came back and took over everything. They came up with the money. We had a first board meeting, and I was appointed managing director. And within less than a year, we were number 1 from number 5. We went through a lot of hurdles, like bandwidth. Like we only had 2.5 megahertz of the entire bandwidth required for GSM network. Nonetheless, we strategized in using this small amount of bandwidth by making it more expensive to call Vodacom to Vodacom. Nonetheless, we made money, and after a few years, we went to court, and we got enough bandwidth that some other competitors were holding. Today, that company is the biggest in Tanzania. I went back to South Africa to start Vodacom International, which didn't work out well because of how I was being paid. So I went back to Kenya. When I went back to Kenya, I bought a company with a friend of mine, and we started agency for Safaricom. Then I became a PS in the ministry. The first ICT ministry in the country, I'm the one who started it. And I found some very innovative people, young guys like Kariuki, Obam, and we did a lot of things. I said earlier that we are the ones that came up with the idea of undersea cable. We are the ones that did the ICT policy, which is... Sorry? I can't hear that. We are the ones that came up with the ICT policy, which is running the industry until today. Why? Because we strategized properly. And these are things that young startups should understand. We involved all aspects of businesses in Kenya to chip in into doing the policy. That's why it survived until today. When I went into parliament, I restructured I became the chairman of ICT in parliament, and we structured how it should be done. We came up with the policies of running the industry, and it worked very well. And I'm so proud that we have some people in Kenya that are so world renowned in telecom. It's unfortunate that after we left, I found some documents, some pages that are written in Nosa language. That was very unfortunate. So we must do research when we are doing startups. So that was an experience in one startup and of course, I talked about satellite for Africa in Cote d'Ivoire, which Dr. Adaja and myself, we were only 3 people, and some lady from Ethiopia who was our finance lady. Dr. Adaja and myself insisted in doing a satellite for Africa, just from nothing to when we launched it in 2007. Actually, I had gone back to Kenya to become an MP, and I was invited to Cape Canaveral to witness the launching, but I told them to write my name on the tail of the saddle of the launching pad. This was not easy because countries were listening to advices from non-entities, and we had difficulty in raising money. Some countries, like, I'm sorry to say this, but Nigeria and South Africa saw what we were doing, and they also decided to do their own satellites, which they did manage to launch. But what went wrong was collecting of funds from countries. All African Telecom was supposed to produce at least $2 million per year, or no, $2 million per month. That stopped, and we were rescued by Gaddafi, who gave us some 10 million. Anyway, by 2006,
Yeah, engineer. Yeah, I know we would love to hear more about this. Please, because of time, I don't want to keep people waiting. Maybe you can do it within 1 minute. Summarize.
Yes, I just wanted to summarize and tell people what things not to do, ways of the paths not to do, not to go through. And actually, it's a long story. Maybe people can ask me questions. I would love to hear that, to hear questions on what not to do in startups. Let me put it at that and leave it at that. Thank you, Dr. Mak'Ouma, for stopping me. When I start this, I go on and on.
Yeah. So Grace, because you did finish, are you done?
Yes, I'm done, Mark. Thank you, panelists, Matt, Ngugi, Jane, and Engineer Rege. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure hosting you for this panel. My name is Grace Kerongo. I'm also a co-founder of an AI web-based app for creatives. Over to you, Mark.
Yeah, so being a founder is very important. I'm happy that guys have founded something. If you're not a founder, please make sure that you become a founder and make use of this resource available. So we are going to almost the last part, questions. Because I asked Isha to see if there are questions so that she can be able to share. To share the questions and probably people ask. Respond. But again, engineer and the panelists who are here still, there could be questions. You can be able to write your contact, your email address, wherever, so somebody can reach out to you directly in case of any extra question they have. Isha.
Yeah, thank you, Oma. I have 2 questions for Jean Leah. My first question is, in the first panel, we talked about diaspora Africa sort of link when it comes to investing as people in the diaspora. What advice would you give people in the diaspora who are looking at investing in different startups back in Africa? Are there any bodies or structured organizations, or how do we plug in? If, let's say, I have a few coins here and there and I would like to participate, what's the best way to go about that? And my next question is with regards to proposal writing or putting together the concept notes. We may have all these ideas, but then how do we get either consultants or the right people who can help us put this together in an investor speak or investor language? Because I know there are like specific keywords they look for. Now there are all these tools that they use to evaluate a proposal once it's shared out. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on those 2 aspects.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thank you for the questions. The questions of diaspora African link, investing in startups, I think you have to define first what your thesis is. What area talks to you, you know, in terms of where you want to you want to give impact, right? And then the second thing is that you know, understand the space very well, right? In you know, in Africa. And then I think that the third thing is network, right? You know, for me, you know, I was an early advisor in a fundraising firm that's investing in startups. So they channel some of those opportunities my way, right? And it's some people we went to college together, you know, so they created a fund. And as a matter of fact, I linked them together with somebody in Silicon Valley, one of my mentors, that they ended up, you know, forming this fund specifically to invest in Africa. So I think understanding, you know, your thesis, maybe you're interested in agriculture, right? Maybe you're interested in education, and really scout those spaces where those kind of startups are there, right? And then network in those spaces, right? I know I've been to some conferences in Africa. I think I'm going to one in Morocco. And sometimes you have to use your own funds, right? Sometimes you have to use your own vacation time, you know, to go into those spaces to really understand what's happening. Or even when you go to holidays in Kenya, you know, try and plug in within, hey, I saw you're working. Try and set up some meetings with people that, you know, you find interest, because those are your first networks, and understand that space, right? You know, and also, you know, understand that it's a risk, it's high risk, you know, aspect of it. You know, and also for me, my major struggle sometimes with investing in startups in Africa is understanding what's the exit strategy, right? And usually, I think most startups haven't thought about that aspect of the exit strategy. How do you enable investors to make their money? And sometimes it could be, yes, it's not money, but you have the skill set. You have the skill set to contribute to the growth of that startup. So you can be part of their advisory board, you know, formal or informal, depending on what you want, right? But, you know, there has to be some level of intention set. What's your intention? And look at it from their perspective. Sometimes they just don't know what they don't know. But I think also Engineer alluded to being able to get feedback. I think another biggest challenge for me, there are some people, I see the opportunity, but I can understand, I can really deduce the fact that it's not going to be a good fit because feedback is not going to be received, right? And there are others outright, they look at you as a woman, you know, and you can tell there's going to be problems, stuff like that. So really defining what is it that you want to invest, what speaks to you, and understanding, you know, what area you can play in terms of either it's money or advisory can really help. I think the second question was about proposal writing and concepts, and you know, if you have ideas. I'm always an advocate of writing your idea down, and a one-pager, right? I think you know, I'm a biggest proposal of, hey, I have an idea, I put it on a one-pager. I have a small group of people, and especially when I have ideas that important in the continent, I have a small group of people that I send that one page and say, hey, what do you guys think, right, about this idea? And then you demystify it, or you know, you'd be like, okay, maybe this is not the right time, or what have you not, right? But just writing down that one page and thinking through, you know, can help you create a whole portfolio of ideas, like I call it. I think those are two questions for me.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo what Dr. Jean has just mentioned there, and say that what is very, very key for people in the diaspora is networking. Networking is critical, is valuable. Get to know what is happening. Join organizations that are here in the diaspora that have some information about what is happening back home. Do your due diligence. I am chair of One Voice Consortium, a diaspora organization that this organization, CiviNet, is part of, and others that are here on this line, like Proximity Point City, which is coming up with an expo next week. There is a conference about tech that is going to be there. So do your due diligence, find out what is happening, network, join organizations that are here that are promoting trade between US and Kenya. And that way you can be able to be more informed, but more particularly do your due diligence of what is happening.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I see Prof. Lucas Njenga. I think I know him. Prof.
Prof. Lucas is our co-chair in One Voice Consortium.
I know him. We met
just like you are co-chair
somewhere.
in Innovation. Yes, he's part of our agribusiness campus in Malindi. That's actually where we are doing the smart city.
I know him. We met in an event in Washington State. He must be from UK. Prof, if I see you raising up your hand, maybe just a minute. I give you a minute.
Yeah, I just want to really appreciate. I've been following this in the background, and I think you guys, what you're doing is groundbreaking. It's amazing, especially the lady who has just spoken and said the processes to follow. What I liked most about what she said is getting involved and getting engaged.
We just lost Prof. Oh, okay. Are you
because
back?
you have a can you hear me? Hello?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, so I was just saying that there's a lot of opportunities, but there's need for engagement and participation to make these opportunities work for you. Because people are at a certain level, and all what they need is, yes, that a bit of support in finance, but more so a bit of insight, a bit of exposure in what is happening. So this weekend, actually, from Thursday, Friday, mainly Thursday and Friday, we're doing a similar event where many of the diaspora tech people, we have people from Harvard, we have people from Silicon Valley, we have people from even Seattle. I think we have a guest from Seattle, and they'll be meeting with the local young tech people who are innovators, working with the Innovation Hub of Safaricom and other innovation hubs. And we are looking at the application of those startups and how can they be taken further. But we are really specializing in smart cities and just enabling the Internet of Things, the AI and things like that. So these are opportunities where people can engage, and we'll be able to make it available virtually. We'll also be able to kind of have ongoing discussions. But I just want to say what we have done is excellent. Yes, we were together in Seattle not long ago. And I think this is something we really want to encourage, because our mind, the Kenyan mind, is a very green mind. There's a lot of opportunity to grow our tech space and at least become a global giant in producing the best in this new space that nobody has ventured into. So yes, highly appreciated and most welcome. We'll share with you information on how you can participate in the tech symposium that will be in Malindi next week.
Thank you. Please share the same on the link. I remember your story where you went to the airport without a passport and a visa. That's the story that I will always remember. I'm happy to have meet you here again. That's great. I want to say thank you. I wish I was able to mention each and every person who is able to be in this meeting since we started it now. Sincerely, I want to thank our moderators, Dr. Jane and Grace, for being wonderful and taking care of, taking time to make sure that this event was moderated well. I want to again thank our panelists. panel people who are in the panel discussion. Ben Roberts, I hope you see here. Thank you so much. Dr. Robert Shuri, thank you so much. Dr. Nixon Opondo, he just told me he has to get into the plan now, so he's not be able to be with us at the end. Dr. Leah Jean, great. I'm going to host you very soon to talk about AI, because that's where my line my line of thought is taking me. It's something that I think I need to have a serious discussion. We're going to talk about that. Matt is the youngest out of the panel. I met Mark. He just finished high school, and then he was this mind of a person that thinks that he wants to venture into entrepreneurship. He's doing that, and I'm glad that he's able to be here. Thank you so much. And then Dr. Engineer, Honorable Engineer Rege, my good friend for a very long time, and my good neighbor here where I live. We will come a long way. Thank you for being here, Engineer. I want to thank you, everyone. I wish, let me even, if I can mention your name for a minute. Brandon, I know there's so many people, by the way, the KUSAT, Kenya US Tech Forum, which is hosting this forum, was an idea that I had like 5 months ago. And then we had our first event. Second, now this is a fourth event. So this is an event that, like Dr. Shuri said, you need to be in some organization. If you are out here, whether you are in Europe, you're in America, you are, get to this group, okay? It helps a lot. It helps in advancing, exchanging knowledge, sharing information. This is where you can be able to meet great people of tech, people who have been in tech space for some time, and you can learn a thing also. We are also sharing resources. We ask you, please, if you have any opportunity, I know the young people also looking for jobs, opportunities. If you have such, share with them, let's build each other. We want support people down from Malindi to up there in Nairobi, and possibly to Washington, DC, to Seattle, to another place, and of course, UK, and wherever we are supporting, want support of people. Bran Kirongo, thank you so much. Danish, Dan Mwangi, Danny, Bright Magofuli, I wish I was able to mention everyone. Thank you for being here. Dr. Jeremiah Ukare, Edwin Chege, Ellie, Emily, Geoffrey, George, and everyone. If I didn't mention your name, especially the founders of KUSAT, those who we walk this journey almost from the beginning till today, you want to thank you so much. Unless somebody has a question, please allow me to end. Give you just a second and see if anyone
Dr. Uma.
Yep.
Just a quick announcement for the benefit of your listeners and the attendees here. Global Diaspora One Voice Consortium, tomorrow there is a panel on education, how to navigate issues around education, and it's particularly also tech comes in, because we have a lot of students that are coming in for tech opportunities. So please log into our session tomorrow. We have sent out the link. It's going to be moderated by our Dr. Okari of One Voice Consortium. And we have invited many great speakers and panelists there. So again, I just wanted to take that forum to continue this conversation tomorrow, part of it in One Voice Consortium's forum. Thank you.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to such events. If you have such events that you feel you want people to come in, okay, I think okay. If you have such events that you feel they are relevant, for us as people living here and people back home, always share with us. Unless there's any